King John was born on Christmas Eve 1166 or 1167, the fourth son of Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine. John was born at Beaumont Palace in Oxford. His reign as king would prove to be one of the most fateful in all English history. But before I discuss that, I would like to have a look in this video at his life as the youngest son of Henry II and before he became king. His older brothers were Henry the Young King, so called because he was crowned co-king alongside Henry II in 1170, Geoffrey, Duke of Brittany, and Richard, who would become known as the Lionheart. John's immediate prospects as he grew up were viewed as being bleak, and so he earned the nickname of Lackland due to his lack of titles and lands. Things began to change for him when in 1173 Henry the Young King, Geoffrey and Richard went into rebellion against Henry II. Although Henry II was generous enough to let them hold on to their lands when the rebellion subsided, his trust in them was forever broken, and it was the 6-year-old John who now found himself the favourite of Henry II. And when he was about 10, John was made Lord of Ireland. Obviously, at this age, John was too young to rule over any lands on a significant level, but his wealth and potential influence was now beginning to grow. In 1183, John's eldest brother, Henry the Young King, died without any children. Then just a few years later, in 1186, the third of the brothers, Geoffrey, also died. Unlike Henry, Geoffrey did leave an heir, a boy by the name of Arthur, who in theory supplanted John in the line of succession, as his father was senior to John. However, the chances for John to become king had greatly improved. Did he have his eyes set on the throne? I think it is quite probable, yes, judging by his actions during the reign of his one remaining brother, Richard. When Geoffrey died, John would have been aged about 20. He had spent his childhood watching his family being torn apart by infighting. His mother, Eleanor, had been imprisoned for her role in the Civil War, and his father, Henry II, died a battered and weary old man in 1189. John would have been greatly influenced by the events of Henry II's reign and left him with a desperate need to survive politically or be chewed out by those more ruthless. I'd just like to take a moment here to thank anybody that has watched my videos and has taken the time to like and subscribe. I've received some nice comments along the lines. I'm very grateful for those that have done that. If you watch my videos, then please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button because it all helps my channel to grow. When I first started doing these videos, I was kind of putting more experimental videos out there because I wanted to get the format right. My last 3 or 4 videos have got quite a lot closer to where I want them to be, and as a result I'm starting to see more views on my channel and more views on my videos. So anybody that does take the time to watch my videos, I'm really very appreciative of it, and so hopefully over time together we can grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. So I'd just like to thank you once again and just ask you to hit the like and hit the subscribe button. Thanks, and now I'll continue talking about King John. So in 1189, Richard I succeeded to the throne of England, but not long after he had made his way to the Holy Land to fight Saladin on the Third Crusade. Richard left his mother Eleanor as regent. But Richard must have had question marks on his brother's loyalty to him, and perhaps he knew this was a problem he had caused himself because of his own lack of loyalty to his father, Henry II, Richard could hardly expect John to be loyal to him when Richard himself had been so disloyal to their own father. So, in an effort to keep John happy, he made him Count of Mortain and married him to Isabella of Gloucester, although that marriage wouldn't last and John would later have it annulled. On top of this, John was also handed extensive territories throughout England. These are quite clearly bribes. Richard's suspicions were proved correct when John was almost straight away was arguing with the men that Richard had left in charge alongside Eleanor. For John's part, he knew that his 4-year-old nephew Arthur was Richard's rightful heir, but this didn't stop him from making determined efforts to persuade key figures to his cause. John would have known that Richard's undertaking was an extremely dangerous one, and there was a good chance he would not return from the crusade. This was an opportunity too good to pass up for John, and if he could barge the little Arthur out of the way in the line of succession, there was a very high possibility that he would very soon become king. For a man that had once become known as Lackland, this was something he wasn't going to let pass him by. After Richard had completed his spectacularly successful crusade, he made his way back to Europe, but was kidnapped by the Archduke of Austria, Leopold, and then handed over to the Holy Roman Emperor, Henry VI. This would have been music to the ears of John, especially when he heard the enormous ransom that the Holy Roman Emperor was demanding for Richard's release. John then attempted to ally himself with the King of France, Philip II, who also stood to gain from Richard's kidnapping. Between the two of them, they did everything they could to ensure that Richard remained stuck in Germany. One of John's tactics was to start spreading false rumours that Richard was in fact dead. By doing this, he hoped to gain some of Richard's following and supporters. John, though, must have been seriously panicked when he heard of Richard's release in 1194 and his imminent return. The two brothers were reunited, and John found his brother in a rather forgiving mood. Richard attributed John's treacherous behaviour to his immaturity and that he was just a child, despite the fact that John was now at least 27. I think it's safe to say that John accepted the fact that there was absolutely no chance that he could defeat Richard militarily, especially after the stories he would have heard about the Third Crusade. And so John, for the remainder of his brother's reign, stayed on side, and he even turned against the man he had attempted to unite with, Philip II. John's sense of loyalty is distinctly lacking. He attacked the French king at Evreux and secured Normandy against him. It does have to be said that Philip had made some gains into the Angevin Empire while Richard had been away, and John had done absolutely nothing to stop it. What we can see from John's career before he became king was that he was an extremely self-serving man, but I don't think that this is entirely his fault. He had an instinct for survival that would have been shaped by his formative years as a young boy, and the chaos that had reigned amongst the royal family as he grew up. John's ability, though, to turn his back on his supposed allies shows a real weakness in his character. Flaws such as these go some way to explaining why his own reign would descend to the depths that it did.